Yes. So in last class, we have started our discussion on this CMOS inverter, right? And we have seen why, what should be the, why you have to use this pull-up network, or what should be the what criteria for this pull-up network, what should be the criteria for this pull-down network, and why NMOS is preferred as in pull-down network, whereas this PMOS is preferred as in pull-up network. These applications is not only limited to here, you can also see later on when we use some or discuss some dynamic logic gates. There also you will see that why always as a pull-up we should use pull as a PMOS, and why as a pull down we should always use as an NMOS. Those things will be again coming, but that time we will not spend much time on that for those discussions. So this is the overall, CMOS inverter circuit, how it looks like, and we have seen how to get the voltage transfer characteristics from this. We have tried to explain it from, first explain it from the graphically, like from the characteristics, output characteristics of this NMOS and PMOS, right? And then trying to flip it, and then trying to ship it, right? Get okay, shipped it, and we got this, and we have seen the intersection points, like why this thing is coming like this. And from here we have also understood how the VTC or voltage transfer characteristics of this CMOS inverter will look like, right? Here we have also discussed what will be the region of operation. For example, here this here we have written this what will be the region of operation for this NMOS, and what will be the region of operation for this PMOS. Similarly, we have seen for this region 2, then region 3, this is a vertical, almost vertical transition region. If the transistor do not have any, what is called that, VDS dependence. In the saturation region, if the ID is dependent on VDS, that means, this 1 plus lambda VDS term is not there, then it should be almost, parallel to this horizontal axis, and it should fall almost vertically, right? Otherwise you should have some you will get some slope here, right? Then region 4, and then finally region 5. Here we have mentioned that this point will be the threshold voltage point for this NMOS, right, up to here, because here NMOS is off, and this is the region. This is, if this is VDD, then this separation will be VDD minus, means this separation will be the threshold voltage of the PMOS, or if this is VDD, this point will be VDD minus VTHP, where you should remember that VT, if we say VTHP, that VTHP actual value is negative, right? So it is not VDD plus VTHP. So you should understand that it is VDD minus that value. Suppose the threshold voltage is 0.4 volt negative, then it will be only the value here. So it is minus 0.4 volt, right? This is this point. And we have also seen that when the transistors are operating in this regions, for example, in this state or in this state, there is no power dissipation, because either NMOS or PMOS is off, right? So there is no direct path from this VDD to ground, so though no static power dissipation. But you can always see that during this region, okay, for example, let me take this one, this, okay, for example, during this region or during this region, or okay, first let us consider these two region. Here in this two region, you can see either one transistor is in saturation, the other is in active, other is in the triode region, or here too, like one transistor is in saturation, other will be in the active region, right? Or sorry, triode region, right? Whereas for this region, okay, this region here, both the transistor will be in saturation, right? So you can see also, like from this region right here, this two region will be here, both the transistors will be in saturation. So a good amount of current will flow during this region, means when both the transistors are in saturation, right? And you can also guess, like if you have to plot, obviously we will do that today. So if you have to plot also the ID, that means if ID is this current, right? If you have to also plot ID with in the same plot, then probably ID will look something like this. Let me choose some different color. If I can get, yeah, maybe I will use this. So here, see, below that there will be no ID because one of them transistor is off. So here the ID will start, and beyond this point also ID will be 0, right? So ID will be limited to only these two region, and here the ID will be only the ID will be highest, value, right? The ID variation would be like this. So this would be the variation of ID. I think that you can also expect from the here from these characteristics, right? So this will be the variation of ID if you have to plot it on this VTC, right? So you can always see that when the transistor means when this CMOS inverter is switching from this on to off or from off to on region, so it must undergo this region where both the transistor will be when both the transistor will be operating in the saturation region, and there will be a direct path from this VDD to this ground because now both the transistors are on, right? And it will create a power dissipation. So if you have more number of switching for the CMOS inverter, then you have more and more power dissipation, right? So from this, you can just estimate, you can have some preliminary idea or some guess that the power dissipation of the CMOS inverter will be dependent on the frequency of this input signal. So if the input signal is changing much more rapidly, then the power dissipation will be more, right? Okay. So if this part is clear to you, then we can also see here one part, right? Like, if this is the point where this V in is equal to V out. So if this is V out and this point is V in, right? Then this point is the threshold, switching threshold for this CMOS inverter. And if I ask you to find what will be the switching threshold for this transistor, I think you will be able to do it. But anyway, we will do it also because that is one of the important thing that we should know. And it has some different other impacts as well. We'll see that. But at the same time, I would also like to say, like, suppose if you now, you know, right, at in which region, which transistor will be operating in which region, right? So if you know that, you know the respective equations as well. Then if I ask you to find, what will be this VIL, what will be equal to VIH, what will be equal to VOH, what will be equal to VOL, I guess you should be also able to find those parameters, right? I am not doing it explicitly again for the CMOS because in a couple of other inverters we have already done this, right? It is type of similar exercise. So please do this exercise and try to find out estimate. I'm writing it here. This estimate all these parameter points, right? That VOH, VOL, VIH, then VIL, right? And if you know all this, okay, you can always find what will be the value of VOH dash because that will be equal to VDD for this CMOS inverter. What is VOL dash? That will be equal to 0 volt for or CMOS transistor, right? It is 0 and it is VDD. Right, and if you know these points, then you should be also able to find what is the noise margin high and what is the noise margin low for this CMOS inverter. Right, so I encourage you to please do this homework and try to find out the these points VOH, VOL, VIH, VIL, all four, including this noise margin high, noise margin low. Similar exercise, right? No point of doing the same thing, but for different cases again and again. Right, please do that. If you have any difficulty, we can always come back to this and discuss. But I hope that you will not face any difficulty in this because this is quite straightforward. Okay. Now, we are discussing about this threshold voltage or switching threshold for this CMOS inverter. We'll try to focus more on this in the next page now. So, switching threshold for this CMOS inverter. So it is quite straightforward to find, but we will do that here. It will not take much time, and it is also important for a couple of things we need to discuss from here. So this is VDD, and this is ground, this is V out, and this is V in, right? And the switching threshold is that point where this V in is equal to this V out. So that way you can see like if this is V in equal to V out, and at that point this like this voltage, there will be some voltage that we need to find from here, right? VSG, what is the VSG from here, and what is VGS from here, all this stuff that you can do. And whatever the current has to flow from this PMOS, the same current has to flow through this NMOS as well. And in addition to that, we have a relation of V in equal to V out. So if you just simply put, and in this, and we have also seen in this last page that during the switching threshold, right, both the transistor will be operating in this saturation region, right? So we can directly use the equation, saturation region equation, and find it. So the current should be equal. So what we are writing here, that is VGS. VGS is nothing but, okay, let me write it here again. VGS is nothing but, here it is V in, right? V in minus the threshold voltage of this NMOS transistor, that is square, and this is Kp by 2. Okay, now what will be the current for this? We have done it from this, like when for this PMOS, if it is VGS, then for PMOS it will be VSG. So VSG means VDD minus V in, right? So it is VDD minus V in. And then the threshold voltage, should we put minus or no? We have to take only the the magnitude of this, because this we are substituting from here. So this is the overdrive. Remember that this is VGS minus that VTH. So as this value is negative, so we have to keep it in the mod, because ultimately it has to be substituted from this point, this value, right? So if you now do simple bit estimate, like do bit simplification with a goal that here we need to find what is V in. So you can estimate that V in. So I am not doing the step by step, which you can always do. So it is VDD minus, so you can see it here, this VDD minus this mod of VTHP, right? Plus there will be one term of this VTHN as well, VTHN, right? And but here this KP, these two will cancel out, this KN and KP, which if they are not equal, we have to make a generalized equation. Then this, it will be Kn by Kp, right? That you can also understand from here. And at the same time, at this denominator, we will have also this Kn by Kp term, right? And so here we have make both transistor in saturation, and we have equated the current. So whatever the V in, that has expected to be equal to V out, and this is nothing but the switching threshold of this inverter, right? So this is actually that VTH. Okay, now the question, okay, before we go to that question, but we will try to write it in a nice way. This writing was not good. So it is Kn by Kp by 1 plus root over of this Kn by Kp. And this is equal to the threshold voltage. Okay. Now here you see couple of things. Suppose if Kn equal to Kp, you know what is Kn? It is mu n Cox W by L for this NMOS. What is Kp? Mu n Cox W by L of this PMOS, right? So if Kn equal to Kp, so that means this two will cancel out, this two will cancel out, right? And mod of VTHP, that is the magnitude of threshold voltage of PMOS, is equal to the magnitude of threshold voltage of this NMOS. These two are equal. Then you see V in, or this VTH threshold voltage, this can be estimated. This is now equal to this. This is to cancel out. This become 1 plus 1 2. So it is VDD by 2, right? So the VTC now it will become like this, right? So if this is VDD, right, this point would be VDD by 2. And generally, this is always our intention to make the threshold voltage closer to the midpoint of this supply voltage. So if this is also VDD, right, then we will try to make it like this. So to make to achieve this criteria, we should have this Kn equal to Kp and the threshold voltage, the magnitude of threshold voltage for this NMOS and PMOS has to be equal, right? Okay. And if you remember, in I think our some in not yesterday's but not in previous class, maybe 2-3 class back, we have also discussed this thing that okay, let me draw this. The output is driving one output capacitor, right? The CL, right? And here we have seen that during charging it has to charge through like in this path, right? So that's why it is called the pull-up network. And during discharging, if it is initially charged, then the capacitor has to discharge through this NMOS, right? And if the resistance of this PMOS and NMOS are same, then also the charging time and the discharging time would be equal, right? If they are same. And that is what also you want. You want that charging time and discharging time would be type of symmetric, right? And they are equal. So if you also want that, then you have to make the resistance, okay, of this transistor and this transistor equal. So for that also you should have this, when you should have to make this criteria, Kn will be equal to Kp, right? Then only these two, then only this will be possible. So even if you want to have a symmetrical type of charging and discharging characteristics as well as in symmetrical voltage transfer characteristics like this, right? Then you should have this criteria satisfy. You should make the transistor such that this criteria is fulfilled, which is Kn equal to Kp. Now what is this Kn equal to Kp? Okay, so if this Kn has to be equal to Kp, so that basically says us this mu n Cox W by L for this NMOS will be equal to mu n Cox W by L of this PMOS. Sorry, this would be mu P, right? This is the whole mobility, right? And when you make NMOS or PMOS in the same chip, all right, there Cox or the capacitance would be, or capacitance per unit area would be similar because you are using the same gate oxide thickness, right? So Cox would be similar. So Cox get cancel out. So you can then say this W by L for this N type by W by, okay, I don't have a much space here. I will write it here. So then we can say W by L for this NMOS by W by L for this PMOS would be equal to, so this is what you see, this is mu P by mu N, right? Or in other way, if you want to write this part in the top, then it is mu N by mu P. Oh. Mu N by mu P, right? So let me write it here. Right, mu N by mu P, right? And you know the value of this mu N and mu P for in case of silicon MOSFET, and generally this mu N is 2 to 3 times of that of this mu P, right? So where to write here? Not much space, but maybe we can write it here. Generally mu N is equal to 2 to 3 times of mu P, right? So that way we can also say, like, to maintain this criteria, that is to have a symmetrical VTC as well as the symmetrical charging and discharging characteristics, we should probably follow this one, that is W by like W by L for this PMOS would be equal to 2 to 3 times, right, of this W by L of this NMOS, right? So when you are making this PMOS, its width has to be more. Okay, now you can, one more thing here. See, this is W by L ratio of this PMOS has to be 2 to 3 times 2 to, this is third, not 31, huh? 2 to 3 times of this PMOS. And when we are saying this, we are saying that this W by L ratio, but what is L? Now we can also make say like, you know, I can change the L, reduce the L for this PMOS, keeping this W constant. That is also, I mean, you can think in that line as well. But generally for fabrication, this L is mostly constant, and we will consider L as the minimum gate length for that particular technology. So that way L is constant for both PMOS and NMOS. So the only variable that is there as a designer in your hand, this would be the width of this PMOS and NMOS. So also in our some consecutive discussions, you will also see the parameter that will be there in our hand for a particular technology node is mostly the width, and we can change the width to change the power dissipation, change the delay, the symmetric VTC characteristics, and all this stuff. Fine.
So,
Oh, huh.
so in the two paths of charging discharging that you have drawn, the green and the purple one, when you are charging, the current goes from the source to drain of the PMOS, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that resistance encountered is of the order of 1 by GM, right?
Okay.
And when discharging, you are going through drain to source of NMOS. So that is of the order of R naught for the NMOS, right? So the time constant will vary anyway, right?
No,
Like
you right, right. I understand your point, but see this point. You have to see from here as well. Like when this is charging, when this capacitor is charging, so that means this is off. So this is in saturation. This is in saturation, and when it is discharging, this will be in saturation. Right? Both the transistors are in saturation.
yeah, that is correct. I'm asking about the because of the direction of the flow of current, we reduced the transistor as a resistant equivalent model, right? That this is the resistance when you go through the source to drain, if you go from the base to source, etc., etc. The different topologies as they are called. So like that is why I'm confused, because when charging we are going from like the PMOS source to drain to the CL, and if you look at the topologies, then the resistance encountered is 1 by GM. It's very less. And when you are discharging, the CL discharges through NMOS, which is in saturation. It goes from the drain to source of the NMOS. And when
Right.
looking into the drain, it is like calculated that the resistance, equivalent resistances are not the of the NMOS. So that is why I'm confused about the time constants associated with this.
Okay, fine. Time constant. Okay, we will keep this part for time constant in a different context. Okay, because now we have not discussed it on much on this. But are you are you convinced with this point that to have and symmetrical VTC, we should make we should fulfill this criteria?
Yes, so that is clear. Like according
And
to
that
the
is
form. Yeah, right.
no? Okay, fine. So we'll keep that propagation delay part for some this discussion related to propagation delay part for some other context. Okay, because we have not started that part in quite well.
All right.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, so one more thing is that, yeah. Okay, so this is the VTC of this CMOS inverter. So tell me now, if you make W by L ratio or if you suppose so W by L ratio for this PMOS as well as this NMOS are in your hand, right? And suppose initially you made this fulfill this criteria, so you are getting the symmetrical VTC, and your VTC is like this, right? Now suppose you make this W by L, you increase the W by L even further. Suppose W by L is equal to 5 times of this W by L of this N, right? Then what will happen? Then what will happen to this VTC? Yeah. Any
It
idea?
will shift right. It
It
will
will shift,
shift
but
right.
in which direction it will shift?
Rightward.
It will shift to the right one. You are right. So you can also see from here, right? Right, from this equation. So if you increase it, it will shift towards VDD, like VTH will shift towards VDD, right? Similarly, if you make this W by L for this NMOS increase, further, then compared to this, okay, or you can say the other way, you reduce this W by, you make W by L equal to W by L of P equal to W by L of N, then what will happen? Right, it will shift towards this side, right? So that way also you can see, by changing only the width of this PMOS or NMOS, you can actually shift the threshold voltage of this CMOS, means switching threshold of this CMOS inverter, right? Okay, fine. I hope means so far there is no question, right? Okay, so here the equations so far we are using, they are still valid for long channel MOSFETs, right? You can see here we have used this mu n Cox, because inside this Kn term we have this mu n term, right? Mobility. So that means still the velocity saturation has not occurred. So that means we are still considering the case of long channel MOSFET. But as you know that for as the technological node has keep on decreasing to enhance the performances, so we can always see that the separation between the source and drain, right, is actually decreasing or falling down, right? So if you say, like, in this context, this is source, this is gate drain, right, and this is the L, gate length L, this L is actually keep on falling, right? We are keep on reducing this value of L, right, to improve the device performance. In improving what respect, I think that you already know. So the one would be in terms of like speed, right? So you happen better, like if you have more space, then then you need much more time to have an electron pass from here to till from the source to drain, right? So when you are syncing this separation between source and drain such a way that you are no longer, means that the electron velocity, this electron velocity, this V, that is a deep velocity, can be written as this mu n into electric field. All right, so as you are keep on changing, suppose let us make this is NMOS, say, and we have grounded the source, and we are keep on changing this VD, we have changing this VDD. So this if velocity saturation does not occur, then as you changing this VDD, your velocity of electron will keep on increase, right? That you know already, right? Because mu n is constant, electric field increasing, because what is electric field here? Electric field is nothing but this VDD by L. If you type of very okay, simplify the case a lot, then you can estimate this E is proportionally equal to this VDD by L. So in that case, the velocity is increasing as you changing or increasing this VDD, or you can say the VDS, because VDD is constant. So you can say this as you changing this VDS, right? So, but once you have reached this critical electric field, once you are reducing this L and L, if you are reducing this L and N, so at certain point of time you will reach the critical electric field, right? So once you reach the critical electric field, then after that the velocity will not increase with increase in the electric field, but at that time the velocity will rather become constant, right? So this become this Vsat, right? So when this velocity become Vsat, what will happen? What will happen to the device characteristics, as well as how should we take care in terms of this transistor equation, this phenomenon, okay, or this short channel case phenomenon. So before we discuss those things in bit more detail, so first let us see the graphically what are the basic difference between this long channel and short channel devices. Okay, both in terms of output characteristics as well as the input characteristics. So first let us discuss with the long channel one. Long channel, and this is short channel. So for long channel, if we are plotting this VDS by versus ID, right, then we follow this technique that we will make an this type of line, where this line indicates where the current will cross, current, where the transistor will go from, means beyond, below this point the transistor will be in the triode region, above this point that it will be in the saturation region. So it is basically this VDS sat, which is equal to VGS minus the threshold voltage of this transistor, right? You know that. So that way you can also draw the couple of other lines. Okay, so suppose this is for 0.5, we are increasing by 0.5 like that, and say the threshold voltage is at like maybe 0.2 or 0.3, just for imaginary case, otherwise it would be difficult to explain from here, right? And suppose this is at 1 volt, this is at 1.5 volt, right? And all VGS, this is at 2 volt, this is at 2.5 volt, this is at suppose 3 volt, right? So if this is the characteristics for long channel, then obviously you can notice one thing, that as you are changing this VGS by same amount, right, the separation between this current is actually changing in a quadratic way, right? See here the separation. This separation, as you are going from here to this region, you are changing VGS every time by the same amount, right? But the separation between ID is changing in a non-linear way. Actually, it is a quadratic way, and that is also expected, because this in the saturation region, what we have seen, that this ID is proportional to this VGS minus VTH, that is squared. So it is expected that you will get this type of shape for long channel device. Whereas if you consider the short channel case, we'll see why this is happening in a next page. But then how the ID will look like. Here too we should put in line, like dotted line here, but this line is not this VDS sat, but this is the region where the current means you are reaching, this electric field is reaching the critical electric field. Okay, we'll define more on this point in the next page, but if it is like this, then the characteristics would be somewhat like this. Here again, if I say, suppose this is at 0.5, this is 1, this is 1.5, this is 2 volt, this is 2.5 volt. So here you can see the separation between this ID for equal amount of change in VGS, that is same, right? So if you see some characteristics where you observe this behavior, so obviously it is long channel. If you see some characteristics of ID VGA, ID VDS, where you observe this type of behavior, that with same change in VGS, the increase in ID is almost same, then it is a short channel device. Okay, so far it is good, but what about this? There is another one important plot, which is this plot. We have seen variation with VDS, but what about with VGS? Right? So obviously for VGS, till threshold voltage there will be no current, right? So beyond threshold voltage the current will increase, but the current will increase how? That is the point, right? So you can see here, once the transistor is operating in the saturation region, that the relation between ID and VGS would be non-linear, right, or quadratic. So that way you can expect that this, for some region it will be like this, and after that it will be in quadratic way, it will increase. Right, this is for long channel. Whereas if you have to plot the same thing for short channel case, this is same VGS. So again, this is threshold voltage. We are now not comparing the threshold voltage between long channel and short channel, but it has to also change, because as you are scaling this L, you have to also scale the thickness of this, so that way your threshold voltage is also bound to change. But we are not focusing on the threshold voltage at this moment. Here our intention is only on the value of ID and show its behavior. So here it is 0. Beyond that, for a small region, it will be type of quadratic. Then after that, it will be a type of straight line. It will increase line. Okay, so it is linear. So because right here also you can see, once the transistor in the saturation, so it will be operating in the linear region. Though you can see only for the small, very small region, you have a quadratic region thus also present here. Right, we'll see here like why there will be some quadratic region still present here in the next page. But I think it's not very tough to guess, because you can see here the what we have taken. We have taken, okay, let me quickly tell you here first. So suppose if I plot this drift velocity, and here if we plot this drift velocity versus this electric field, right, then actually deep velocity versus electric field, the plot would be like this, that you have seen, right? Right, this become, VSAT, this saturation velocity, and the plot would be like this. But during, to make our calculation bit simplified, we are estimating it type of like this, right? We are not considering the gradual change in the drift velocity with electric field. But we are making the change in, or approximating the change in electric field type of abrupt one. So as we are considering this abrupt one, so we might feel it will be always linear, because we are not considering this part. If you want to include that gradual transition part, then the equation would be bit more complicated, and it would be not that easy to solve by hand. I'm not saying impossible, but it would be a bit more tricky, and getting the physical intuition out of it also would be difficult, right? So, but you understand that this region, no issue, we are getting this linear as expected. This region, there will be no current, fine. And the little bit quadratic region in this region, that is because of like this, because our approximation is not that well good enough to get the actual shape of V drift versus electric field. Right, okay. So what about this? So we have understood this difference between long channel, short channel, and just within some time we'll also see how to express the current equation for a short channel MOSFETs. Okay, but before that, I would like to focus here first. What about this region? So this is threshold voltage, right? This is below threshold voltage, right? So what about the current here in this region? So is it current is 0? Really? Current is 0 here? Or a similar thing, here below threshold. Is really the current is 0? The answer is no. Here current is not actually 0. In linear scale, we cannot show what is the current. So if you want to really show the current, what is flowing for this case, below threshold voltage, you should choose the log scale, and that we are going to see in the next page. So if I have to plot the log scale, then it would be like this. This is VGS and this is ID. Remember, now we are plotting in log scale, right? So in log scale, okay, suppose you are plotting for the narrow channel or the short channel case, not narrow channel, but short channel case, right? Then this is linear. If you plot it in a log scale, the same curve will be appeared like this, right? So this is that linear part. Then you have some quadratic part. Right, right. So you understand that somewhere the threshold voltage is here. Threshold voltage of this NMOS. But the question is, what is happening after that? The current is like in a log scale, it's falling type of like a very sharp. Maybe for your reference, I can give some number here. Suppose 10 to the power 1. Okay, this is 10 to the power 2. I am not considering what is the unit here, but obviously unit will be in terms of current, but what is the actual value of current? That is dependent on the device dimensions and all this stuff. So it is 10 to the power 1, this is 10 to the power 0, means basically 1, this is 10 to the power minus 1, this is 10 to the power minus 2, 10 to the power minus 3, 10 to the power minus 4, it will fall. But how will it fall? So it will not fall abruptly, right? But it will fall like this, right? So you can see from here that beyond or below this threshold voltage point, this current is falling and this current is falling linearly, right? This current is falling linearly in log scale. So obviously then in this region, the current dependence of this current or drain current on this VGS is exponential, right? Because this is log scale. So here this ID is dependent on this exponential of this eta. Eta is some parameter for this time.
Sir, you are not audible.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Actually, the thing is that here in campus there is a power cut. So this is I am using my mobile phone and mobile network, and from mobile MS Teams only I am speaking with you. So still the power is not there, and I think we don't have much time also. But 2-3 things I want to tell you here. Maybe I will complete this and put it once the power is back. So the thing is that as we are discussing last in the log, below threshold voltage, the ID will fall. ID will fall exponentially. Means ID will fall exponentially with respect to this VGS, right? And that slope is called the sub-threshold slope because it is below threshold. So it is the sub-threshold. And if you just see, just try to recall the plot that we were discussing, that from 0, if you say like VGS equal to 0, then also you will see the current is not, ID is not 0. ID has some finite value, right? Even at that, even at VGS equal to 0. So if you are making VGS equal to 0 and thinking that the transistor is not conducting, current flowing through is 0, then that is not a very correct approximation, right? Particularly, this will affect you in the case where, suppose you are using some like charge stored somewhere, and based on that charge, you are deciding on the logic. We'll see that in case of dynamic logic, right? And if you have to, if you are in that some type of situation like this, like where the charge stored in somewhere, some capacitor will determine the value of logic level, then what will happen, even the logic, no, VGS equal to 0, it is actually leaking, and it will, there will be a charge leakage issue, right, due to the subthreshold leakage current, right? And your, this thing will, over a time, over a very long time, the stored charge, suppose if initially it has stored at 1, maybe after that that can become 2, means suppose logic 0, that can happen. Oh, fortunately now the power is back, but okay. So should I log in and continue from here, or or what? Because now, hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Oh, I am audible, but okay, okay. Just a minute, just a minute. Um, record videos allow, but I don't know which. Not this one. Um, yeah, I will try to focus it on my. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. So, like the upper part of the y-axis is not visible. It's slightly getting cut out. So, holding it up. Yeah, now it's fine, sir. Yes.
Now it's
Good.
fine. Okay,
Yeah.
so I am using my mobile camera to show you from here. So as
Uh,
you can see from here, this is log scale. This is this VGS, right? So if you now keep it, okay, just a minute. If you now keep it from here, like from keep it here, then even you see that 0 volt, there will be some leakage current, right? So the current even at the VGS equal to 0 is not actually a 0. It is it is actually uh, you know it is actually leaking, right? And this will create a good amount of issue in the in case where it in case of some dynamic logic, where some charge stored in some capacitor, okay, will decide the logic. So that will take care in the later part. But one thing that is quite important, and that also you will, I hope that you will also agree with me, is that we want that this slope to be as steep as possible, right, below threshold, right? So this particular slope is called the subthreshold slope, that I hope that you already know that. So this subthreshold slope has to be as steep as possible, right? This is SS slope. And for MOSFET, the slope that you can get is the 60 millivolt per decade. So what does that mean? That mean is that if your gate voltage is only changed by 60 millivolt, your drain current will change by one order or 10 times. Please try to understand this part. Suppose for some reason VGS has changed, not from, suppose this, okay, okay, suppose this is on NMOS, in this gate. Suppose it is, you are expecting that here it should be 0 volt, right? But instead, suppose due to some noise or maybe your logic level, some issue, this has now become 60 millivolt, just 60 millivolt. One volt is 1000 millivolt, just right. So that means the current has increased from 10 to the power minus 5 to 10 to the power minus 4. So you can understand that now the transistor will be leaking very fast, right? Now if you make it like 120 millivolt, then the current has increased to minus 3, right? So even small change in this VGS, can dramatically change the leakage current for this transistor. Okay. One more thing is that
Okay. Yeah. One more thing is that this subthreshold slope also depends on the temperature. And because generally when a device is operating, it is always operating at a higher temperature, not at room temperature. So this slope will be then bit more slanted at that point, right? And when it is more slanted, then you can see even at zero bias, the leakage current is higher. Then subsequently, this is always valid. This part is always valid. Then after that, any change in small VGS, you have a higher and higher amount of leakage. So this leakage plays a very important role in modern transistor, and probably we'll see one slide, maybe not in next class, maybe during our packaging part, when we'll discuss the packaging step, we'll see that the power density means if you see terms of this heat per unit area, right? Then like for modern processors, okay, that is quite close to sun. So you can think about it, right? So the heat generated per unit area, this is as high as close to sun. So it is very, very like, oh, that way you can see. And all these heat dissipations, like for all, like for this heat dissipation, the leakage current plays a very important role. There will be other heat dissipations process as well. We'll discuss that in later on. But this subthreshold slope plays one of the very important role. Right. So I think it's already one, right? Though the power is back, but to reconnect and all these things, it will take some time. So maybe we'll stop it here. This remaining part with in tomorrow's video, I will include that, and you can also find it there in Teams. And I will also put this thing, this PDF part post. And I will also post this PDF part in the MS Teams, right? So yeah. So any question, doubt? No question, no doubt.
Sir, could you again explain why it was linear?
Which one? Which one
channel?
is linear? For short channel, why it will be linear?
Why it was linear when it was above VTH?
Okay, just a minute. I'm trying to. Why the camera is not switching? Yeah. Can you see the screen that I'm trying to show
Yes.
you? Okay. So this is for the long channel and this is for the short channel, right? Or maybe right now the power is back, so probably I can also show you from here. That would be better for me. Yeah, I have joined from this there, so I am switching out of this now. Okay, so can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So your question was like why it should be linear here. Okay, that is, I thought I will discuss it in the next class, but okay, fine, as you were asking. So see here, think of long channel MOSFET. Okay, so and think for a particular VGS. What is happening for a particular VGS? Triode region, right? And then the VDS SAT will reach, which is equal to a particular VGS minus VTH, and then the current becomes saturated. It's fine, no issue. Okay, but for short channel, what will happen? This before you reach this value of VDS or VDS SAT, okay, your current will saturate. So basically, this region you will be getting superimposed with this long channel, and after that, suppose this is the particular point, okay, where
you are reaching the critical electric field required to get the velocity saturation. So here onwards, your electric field, I mean, your current will saturate. Fine. Okay. So this is suppose for a particular value of VGS. Okay. Then if you are changing separate VGS, right, then you have a separate slope of long channel FET as well, right? This is a separate slope, or maybe I should have not drawn it like this because it looks pretty unequal with this. Yeah. So suppose this is for another VGS. Okay, for long channel. Right. So here for the short channel, what will happen? You even not go to this region. Before that, the current will saturate. Right. So as the current saturation is depending on this value of this VGS, and if you also see from here, this if I estimate or write the equation for this region for long channel MOSFET, then I will obviously write it like ID equal to this Kn. Then please guide me. Please tell me.
VDS minus VTH square.
Right, VGS minus, no, this region,
So
triode region.
VGS minus VDH into VDS by 2.
Isn't it? Is
Yes,
this
sir.
right? No response, no response, no response. Are Baba, is this right for this
Yes, sir.
transistor or not?
Yes, sir.
Huh, okay. If this is right, is fine. Okay. Now, what is the value of this VDS for this small channel with the, for the short channel case? For short channel, we are not even going to this much, right? So suppose this value is say this VD sat. Okay, this voltage. So if you now substitute it here, this Kn is VGS minus VTH, VD sat minus VD sat that square by 2. Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now just consider taking this VD sat as common. Okay. I thought this would be Paul. We will do it in the next class. Right. Then it is VGS minus VTH minus VD sat by 2, then by 2 only, right? No square, right? Then you see that VDS, suppose for a particular value of this VDS is constant, then this ID for short channel, see, this is the relation or equation of ID for a transistor, long channel transistor operating in the triode region, right? In this equation, if you substitute the VDS value equal to this VD sat, then you are getting the current level, which is this one, right? So this is the equation of current of a short channel MOSFET operating in the saturation region. And from this equation, you can clearly see that this ID is proportional to VGS only, not VGS square. And that is the reason why for the short channel case, we have seen that the current are increasing linearly with equal amount of change in VGS, whereas for uh, long channel MOSFETs, we have seen that there is a quadratic relation between ID and VGS, and that is quite common. Like this part from an quite some time, right? This part, right? But in this context, as we have discussed here, I should also mention that like this equation Okay, this is an first order approximation only. So what do I mean by first order approximation? That if you do it, then it is good for hand calculation, but you don't expect much accuracy out of this equation. Okay, this is a simple equation and quite easy to derive from well-known long channel MOSFET equation, but this is not that accurate and it's also empirical, it's not physical. Fine. Is this now clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have a lab from 2 and need some time.
I have already done at 1/4. So I think one of your friend has asked. So yeah, please go ahead and continue. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I would like to know if any one of you have any other question.